Welcome, everyone. We're just going to give folks a few more moments to trickle in, and then we'll get started for today's community conversation. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. All right, I think we can get started for today. So thank you all. Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Serrato, and I'm the Director of Engagement here at Cradle-to-Career. We're very excited for today's conversation about C2C's first ever lesson plan challenge and to share that information with you all today. But before we jump in today's session, I want to go over a bit of housekeeping. So first, this meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the Cradle-to-Career YouTube page, as well as posted to the Cradle-to-Career website under our meetings and community conversation pages in the coming days. Equity and accessibility are central to our work, and our meetings are made available in the languages needed for the populations that we serve. So to that end, today's meeting is closed caption enabled. So to turn on the captions, click the three dots to the far right bottom of your screen and select captions. You can also select your preferred language by launching the CC button at the bottom of your screen. And we're also once again glad to have Spanish interpretation services offered for today's session, with a big thanks to Leticia Arena for joining us this afternoon. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Leticia for a few instructions on how to enable interpretation for today's session.
Sure, thank you, Shannon. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Soy Leticia, su intérprete para el día de hoy. Vamos a dar un poco de instrucciones para el comienzo de esta junta. Primeramente, esta junta está siendo grabada y usted puede encontrar estas sesiones grabadas en nuestro sitio web, que ya está colocado donde comunicarse en la pantalla. Y también, para si usted quiere acceder a la junta en el español, usted va a tener un icono en forma de un globo donde usted va a poder escoger sea que quiera escuchar la junta en el inglés o en el español. Simplemente escoge su lenguaje preferido y así puede continuar a escuchar la junta en su lenguaje preferido. Muchas gracias. Back to you, Shannon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leticia.
Sure.
Okay, so with that, while participants are muted for today's meeting, you're welcome to ask any questions that you may have today in the chat. But if you have a specific question this afternoon that you really want to make sure it gets answered, please drop it into the Q&A so that we can see it and address it at the tail end of today's community conversation. And finally, I want to highlight that we're utilizing the community guidelines that we created with you all to foster a brave and shared respectful space. And we really appreciate your commitment to creating community with us today. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to get to know a little bit about each other. So about Cradle-to-Career, the California Cradle-to-Career data system was named in state legislation to be California's source of actionable data and research on education, economic, and health outcomes for individuals, families, and communities. C2C is envisioned to be the most inclusive data system of its kind in the nation, and we employ a three-pronged approach of community engagement to inform the development, interpretation, and awareness building about the data system. We're scaling tools to support college planning and transition, and we've built an analytical data set on education and job outcomes. And for more information on that, we have an infographic available on the C2C website on the bit.ly at your screen, and we'll drop it into the chat. And then just a second, I'm going to see if we can get Leticia to where she needs to be. All right. Next slide, please. Some technical things behind the scenes. So now we get to hear from you all today. We always want to know who's in the virtual space with us. This is our way to have a direct line of conversation with the public. And so we've got just a few questions for you today. So the first question. Um, we would be glad if you can share your name, job role, and where you're joining from today. All right, things are starting to roll in. We've got Kim Patterson with Los Angeles County Office of Education. Thank you for joining us. Kim, I always do this to myself. It takes so long, and then you guys all answer so quickly. We've got Dan Harris, McCoy, project manager, a Little Hoover Commission, Jennifer Cook, over English learner program in Poway USD in San Diego, Ivan Melchor, Amber Rayleigh, student success at Dallas College, Michelle Arthur, Sara Vielma, Orange County Department of Education, or Sarah, Career Education. John Watson, thank you for joining us as always. Tatiana Patton with the San Diego County Office of Education, and Lena, San Diego County Office of Education. Glad to have so many San Diegans in the room today. Roxana Marachi, sorry about that, Roxana, San Jose. And we got Lisa Wong, Foothill Consortium Induction Program, Victoria, Director of Global Strategy Enrollment Management at UC Irvine. Okay, we're going to keep going. We've got another question for you all. So I recognize some names, but is this your first community conversation, or have you been joining for a while? And also, what are you most looking forward to today? And Ryan, I think you shared this with the panelists, but Ryan is very excited to have so many San Diego County Office of Education in the room. He's an alum, so hooray. Victoria says, this is your first community conversation, so welcome, and you're looking forward to insights. Hooray, hooray. Lena, apologies, says first time for me, looking forward to learning. We're looking forward to having you. Thank you for joining us. Keep those coming. We've got one more question for you. Sarah says, first community conversation, looking forward to hearing more about the student dashboard. Lisa Wong, first time how to utilize the data sets. Excellent, excellent. Okay, one last question, and this is a fun one. We just celebrated the autumn equinox, and soon the leaves will be changing and the air will be crisp. So I want to know, what are you looking forward to this fall? While folks are thinking, I will share that I was never a Halloween person growing up, but now that I have a little one, this is one of my most favorite times, and I may or may not have two Halloween wreaths on their way to my home, one Lego and one felt made out of bats. So we do it up big here. My husband may not be so excited about that, but he's only got to look at it for a month or so. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Jennifer says, excited for sweater weather. Indeed, I agree. I've got a lot of good sweaters that need to come out and say hello. And I'm going to go back up to see if I've missed anyone. Kim Patterson says, I'm excited to think about how school district leadership and school site leadership might use this particular tool with their communities to build understanding around dual enrollment. Awesome. Victoria says, crisp weather, pumpkin scones. Yes, indeed. Daniel says pumpkin spice. Everyone loves pumpkin spice. Now's the time. Okay, keep those coming, but we've got a full community conversation. We've got lots of information to share with you today, so we're going to get started. So just a general overview of what we got today. I will be providing a few updates about what we've been up to at the office. People have always asked to for us to share what we've been doing here at Cradle-to-Career so we can keep informed. And then we're going to dive into the heart of today's session about the lesson plan challenge. And then we'll provide a few minutes for Q&A if you have any today. And then finally, we'll close out for today's community conversation right around 1 o'clock. Amber Rayleigh says, first time interested to hear about the data and looking forward to cooler weather. Thank you, Amber. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so again, I'm really excited to talk about the lesson plan, and I've got just a few updates before we kick off today's session. So first, and excitingly, last week we released a new resource, the Student Pathways Dataset. If you joined our community conversation last month, you heard about this release, which is a first step towards C2C's Query Builder tool. We want folks to be able to access the data in various ways. And we heard after the launch of the dashboards that folks really wanted to dive deeper into the underlying data that power the student pathways data story without having to download every permutation 9,000 ways. So we released it as a suite of Excel and CSV files, and the newly available dataset allows researchers and analysts to explore connected education and workforce data all in one place. And we look forward to seeing how you all engage with the resource. We invite you to provide your feedback on the first release. On that page, we have a place for you to share your feedback in real time as you're exploring with the tool. And we've also developed a portal for users to share what they've worked on. So we want to see what you all are doing, and we in turn will be able to share and amplify that work. So we're really excited and can't wait to see what comes out of it. And I'm also excited to share that C2C is now on Blue Sky. We want to make sure that we are reaching as many people in the state as possible, and we are glad to join this community. This expands our social media reach, which also includes LinkedIn and Facebook. And we encourage you to follow us at cradle2career.bsky.social. So that concludes our updates for today. And I'm going to hand it now over to Ryan Estriado, our Director of Data Program, to kick off today's session on the Lesson Plan Challenge. Over to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Shannon. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. Welcome, especially for folks for whom this is the first community conversation. In that last slide, Shannon talked about something new that we've made for you, for the public, a couple of weeks ago, and it launched a couple of weeks ago, and that is the student pathway dashboard underlying data. So that is the CSVs made available to the public that power the student pathway dashboard. It's the exact same data. And I want to talk about that dashboard now because the lesson plan challenge is built around the student pathway dashboard as its main piece of content for you, the participants, to create a lesson around. The initial version of the student pathway dashboard, which we launched in April, you can find on our website under the data story section. And the dashboard is a 6-part data story made with 6 visualizations with accompanying narrative about life after high school. And it asks and helps the public answer questions like, what paths did students in California take after they graduated high school? What degrees and certificates did they earn? And how long did that take? And also, what were their earnings after they earned their degree or certificate? And many other questions. And of course, it uses the P20W linked data system that Cradle-to-Career launched in 2023, linking milestones together, in this case, specifically high school, life after high school, which sometimes includes college, and then earnings. But the question is, once we've built that, we started to ask ourselves, how can we share this data story with folks in a way that's meaningful to them and also practical? Because so often we build data tools and they are about the California public, students in particular, but the data tools themselves and the underlying data for exploration don't always find its way back to the people who the data is telling stories about, in this case, students in California. And so that's a question we want to engage. How do we share that back with students in a way that is meaningful, but also practical? Next slide, please. Leads to the next logical question. What's something that K-12 students and teachers or other educators use every day? And the idea that we landed on was lesson plans. The C2C Lesson Plan Challenge is an invitation for educators to create a lesson plan using the student pathway data story. And I think that this is exciting because we know that hardworking educators make lesson plans in their work every day. And we were also wondering, is there an opportunity for students to learn the standards that they learn every day from their teachers, while also exploring a data story about real life California students who are on a path that they are about to step on? And so that is the background for how we got here. And now to help us answer the question of what the lesson plan challenge can do, I will now pass the mic to C2C's very own executive analyst, who is also the project lead for the lesson plan challenge, over to Blicia Smith.
Thank you, Ryan. And hello, everybody. I'm extremely excited to introduce this lesson plan challenge to you all and to talk about what it entails. Before I hop in about who can participate and a lot of the other meat of the lesson plan challenge, I'd first like to just say that this is something that I've been designing since I joined the team this spring, and it's super exciting. I'm happy that this has come to fruition by working with such an amazing group of people here at C2C. So shout out to all of my incredible colleagues who have provided guidance along the way as this blossomed from an idea into how we can increase access to data for all the Californians and spread awareness of the Student Pathway Dashboard as a tool for growth and success into this lesson plan challenge that you'll see today. So I'll just dive into the logistics and or the bones of the lesson plan challenge and begin with who can participate. So here you'll see educators, faculty, teachers in training, educators, practitioners, and future pathfinders. But what does that mean? So this lesson plan challenge is geared towards those who are already responsible for creating lesson plans, as Ryan mentioned. Um, there are going to be three categories of participants. The first category will include grades 5 through 12 educators at any K through 12 school. That could be a public school, private school, homeschool. As long as you teach grades 5 and above, you are welcome to submit a lesson plan. Um, the second category includes post-secondary faculty. And so by post-secondary faculty, we mean anyone with higher education institutions. So professors, assistant professors at private schools, UC, CSUs, community colleges. There are a lot of post-secondary folks in the room, so please spread the word for your faculty on how they can participate and include this dashboard into their curriculum. The third category are teachers in training. So this includes students in teacher training programs, credentialing programs, and any pre-service teachers. So this is a great opportunity for them to get practice at creating lesson plans, to get credit for this lesson plan in the classes that they're taking, and to really add to their resumes and build their personal and career growth. Um, there's also another category. So if you're an education practitioner and do not think you fit into the category of a grade 5 through 12 educator, post-secondary faculty, or a teacher in training, you will have the option to choose other and describe your own category. So that could include student support specialists, academic guidance counselors, and countless other professions. This is important because when you submit your lesson plan, you will have to pick from one of these three categories. And if you don't fall under that category, you'll just name your own. Um, and and yes, so we can go on to the next slide. So that's who can participate. Um, and we'll talk about what the lesson plan template looks like. So provided by C2C as a Word document, you'll be able to download this template and populate it and submit it. However, you are welcome to use your own lesson plan template if you prefer, if you already have one that you're familiar with that you use. But if you do that, please make sure that your lesson plan template includes the following components that are listed in this lesson plan template. So these are pretty standard. We're asking you to include the materials and resources needed that you'll be bringing to the lesson plan. That includes possible links and web-based resources that you'll be including. We ask you to describe the target audience. So what is the context of the audience? Who are you teaching? Is it 11th grade students in an economy class? You can describe the type of school you're at. You can describe the context. Anything that you think would be important for us to know, that's where you can put it. We're asking you to detail the learning objective. So what will students be walking out of the lesson knowing? And if you can provide an overview of the lesson plan. So this is a brief overview of the activities that you will be walking your students through. And then under the overview of the lesson plan, we're asking you to go into a little bit more detail. So this is where you would be providing the details and notes needed to complete the activity that would seamlessly walk you through the lesson. And while homework is an option and some educators don't assign homework, there is an exit ticket option. So what would students be turning in to you at the end of the class or the next day if you do assign homework? That will demonstrate what they learned. You can explain the assignment and your expectations in that section. When you download this template, there will be a legend with detailed explanation of what each of these components entail. So there's a little bit of guidance if needed. And it's important to note that all these components are required to be filled in before submitting your lesson plan. In addition to the lesson plan template, there will also be supplemental questions that we encourage you to respond to. Next slide, please. So these supplemental questions are 4 questions that you'll have the option to respond so we can get a better understanding of the context of your lesson plan, some of your thinking and reflections behind your work, and how your lesson plan could be used in practice. So we learn from you. And again, these questions are optional, but we encourage you to reflect and to respond. So the questions include, how does your lesson plan consider populations within your community? How do you see yourself reflected in the data? How do you help your students see or imagine their academic and career journey in the data? We're also asking, how do you plan on using this lesson plan in your work if you do? And at what point in the school year would you plan on incorporating this into your curriculum and why? The last question is, what learning standards does your lesson plan incorporate? So we want to make sure that the lesson plan are meeting the standards of the California Department of Education. And so now we'll be talking about how we'll be grading your lesson plan. There are 3 categories that we're looking at which tie into the objectives of why we're launching this lesson plan challenge. So the first category would be, how effectively does your lesson integrate the Student Pathways dashboard? So the main objective we're hoping for you all to get out of this is to have the chance to creatively integrate the many features and resources of the dashboard into your lesson plan so it reaches more Californians and more students, and ideally more families. So how would you go about teaching this dashboard and its many features? What stands out to you and what is important? What do you think is important for your students to know and why? So that's the first category. The second category is, how does the lesson plan empower your students of all backgrounds to see themselves in the data? And what we're really looking is, how do you empower your students to when they're looking at the data stories, how do they reflect on their own lives? And how do you empower students of all backgrounds by talking about things such as data suppression and sensitivity, which is a very nuanced topic, and we'll have resources attached on how to talk about this, how to address it, and what does it mean on our website for you. For example, some of the filters, you notice that there may not be data on your students because if the size of the group is small, we protect people's privacy by not showing that data. So in some cases, this could be a sensitive topic for students because if we're talking about students who are, in grades 5, grade 6, or even beyond, it could be a little discouraging and disheartening to not see yourself within the data. And so we're looking at how you address that topic and how do you still empower and make a positive story out of that by, for example, you can look at legislative district rather than school district. There's so many other avenues that you can explore to empower your students. And so we're going to be looking at how you do that. And the third category is, what are the objectives? Are the objectives measurable and inclusive of data literacy? Are there meaningful ways for your students to engage? This third category really shines light on your objectives and what you think is important for the students to know and to learn. So we're looking to see how you measure student learning objectives by connecting them with the assessments or engagement opportunities that you are setting your students up to explore. We're also looking to see how you incorporate data literacy in your lesson plan to ensure that students are not just learning about the dashboard and that it exists, but they're learning that it can be a useful tool in decision making and answering big questions that they might have themselves. Next slide, please. Um, and so the fun part, the grading. This is a grading scale that we'll be using. You'll have 5 opportunities to score 3 points across the board, which will ultimately add up to 15 points. There's a max of 15 points by getting all threes. I'll walk you through what that looks like next, but for now, getting a 3 would mean this section of your lesson plan is exemplary. A 2 is proficient, a 1 is adequate, and a 0 is that you didn't fill in that section of the lesson plan template. Ideally, if you filled in the section, then you should at least get a point. So there are also extra credit opportunities. If you submit an additional handout for a supplemental material that you created, or you created a companion PowerPoint that complements your lesson plan, that is an extra point that you can score. Um, the supplemental questions that I walked you through just a moment ago are extra credit points as well. So yes, they are optional, but if you do answer them, you will get a point for each question that you answer, which means that there is an opportunity for you to get an extra 4 extra credit points. Um, and so I'll show you what this looks like by walking you through the rubric. Next slide, please. So we tried to make the rubric easy to understand, easy to read through, and easy to complete. So the first category, we're looking at how you integrate the Student Pathways dashboard in a creative way, and what student engagement opportunities are you providing for your students. So highlighted are opportunities and how you would do this. So for the first category, a creative integration of Student Pathways dashboard, it looks like you use many dashboard features and or dashboard resources throughout your lesson plan. That can be asking your students to click on a link and explore what that means. And you'll notice that there are asterisks on some of these words. That's because we have a legend that describes what is a dashboard feature, what is a dashboard resource. So when you see an asterisk, just know that that means there's more information on that thing. Um, in terms of student engagement opportunities, if your lesson plan includes open-ended discussion questions with 2 or more opportunities for students to engage with the dashboard, then you get 3 points. Next slide, please. The second category dives into the student context. So what we're looking at is how you empower and provide visibility for all students, and how inclusive is it of student backgrounds. So when students are looking at themselves in the data, we're seeing how can you frame the story in a positive way that continues to encourage your students and uplift them. And also includes details on data suppression. So like I said earlier, we have resources that address this nuanced topic that you can read through and rely on and teach to your students in these cases. And we're looking to see how inclusive is it of student background. So we really are encouraging you to encourage your students to consider their academic and career interests, and even addressing student realities outside of schools. That's important to include because sometimes our backgrounds determine what our path looks like, and there's as many different paths as there are students. So we're hoping that you incorporate some of that into your lesson plan. Next slide, please. The third category is details your learning objectives and outcome assessments. So we're looking to see, did you include learning objectives and did you incorporate data literacy into your learning objectives? So are they measurable? There's an asterisk there because there's a resource on what that looks like. And how does it align? How do your objectives align with the lesson plan, and include expanding data literacy? So those are the things that we're looking at in terms of grading your lesson plan. We will be providing you this rubric as a resource, and this is what our advisory board members who will be grading the lesson plans will be following as they are looking through. If there's any questions on what I've covered so far, feel free to raise them and we will definitely provide you answers with that. But for now, I'm going to pass it back over to Shannon, who will walk you through what the logistics looks like for submitting your lesson plan and beyond.
Thank you so much, Felicia. That was a lot of information about the lesson plan challenge, and I'm going to share some more information about how you can submit your lesson plan, how it'll be graded, and most importantly, if you're competitive like me, what you will win. So first, how do you submit a lesson plan? I'm pleased to share that as of today, right now, the lesson plan challenge is officially launched and live on the C2C website. You can access the challenge from the homepage under the dive into the data section. It's also under the Get Involved tab in the navigation, or for easier access, you can visit this bit.ly/lesson plan challenge, or use the QR code on the screen. On that page, you'll see everything that you need to get started, from resources, which will also include things like a recording of today's community conversation, to key dates. You'll also be able to download the lesson plan template that Belicia just described, available in Word, which you will use to fill out and complete your lesson plan. And once you've completed your lesson plan, you can upload your final plan along with any supplemental materials that you may have via the submissions page. And then just to note that submissions close March 16th, 2026. Okay, next slide. So what happens after you submit your lesson plan? As you heard, we have a rubric and grading process that will be used to evaluate all submissions. Your lesson plans will be shared with graders without any identifiable information. So that includes your name, district, or school name. All of that will be redacted to ensure equity during the grading process. And the grading team itself will consist of C2C staff, advisory board members, and subject matter experts. As lesson plans are scored, participants can earn a maximum of 15 points with an opportunity for extra credit, but there will be a winner in each category. However, if there are ties in a specific category, the final lesson plans will be presented to C2C's governing board members, who will serve as tiebreakers. Next slide, please. Another exciting aspect of this project, and something I'm personally really excited to see, is that we really hope that folks take advantage of the opportunity to engage with C2C and other Pathfinders in a meaningful way. Today's community conversation kicks off that work, but we're going to provide space for folks to connect with us if questions or curiosities arise. And we also want to learn from you, as Belicia just mentioned, about what you're thinking about when teaching the lesson plan, how your students may engage with it, and how we can use that information to make our next challenges even better. So in addition to today, we will be holding virtual information sessions or office hours where we will invite you to come with any questions that you may have, or if you just want to float ideas or brainstorm, we will provide that space for you. We will also facilitate breakouts during that time. So if you have an appetite for personal one-on-one engagement with staff here, you can do so. The first informational session is scheduled for November 6th, time TBD, and more on that in just a second. And then we'll also have 2 additional informational sessions in 2026, one in January and one in February. So as you can see, we've got a long runway for this project, and we want, once submissions close in March, we know that there will be a lot of folks who are learning about this later on. So we want to make sure that we give folks ample opportunity to connect with the office throughout these next 6 months. So you've got a couple of bites of the apple if you do not attend the community conversation today. So if you're watching this from the future, just know that there is plenty of time to connect with us in person. And if you happen to miss a session, we will keep a running resource on the C2C website, which will include questions received and responses from the office, including any questions that you all may have today. So this really ensures that everyone has equitable access to information, no matter when they start engaging with the challenge. Next slide. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the challenge itself, and you may be curious about what the winners will receive. So if you complete the lesson plan, you will receive a certificate of recognition, and excitingly, you'll get a Pathfinder badge, which you see kind of coyly previewed on the screen. But you'll have the ability to link this badge to your LinkedIn profile and share it with your networks. You'll be officially C2C LinkedIn plan, lesson plan challenge certified. And you can also use that badge in other vehicles. You can also share it on a personal website, things like that. Um, and additionally, Pathfinders will be featured on the C2C site as part of our inaugural cohort of participants. And again, one aspect again that I'm really, really excited about is the opportunity to connect with fellow Pathfinders from across the state. You may be the one lone data wonk in your school or district who is excited about engaging with data in this way. But we're providing a host of opportunities for you to engage with like-minded people from all across the state of California. And who knows, you may even make lifelong data friends. So that'll be really exciting. And if you win, your lesson plan will be showcased on the C2C website and promoted through social media. And you will also have the opportunity to present your plan to state education leaders in Sacramento and at regional events. And we're developing additional items in the coming weeks. And so we will share those once they're fully fleshed out for you. But we're really excited about what we've got in our back pocket. And we will let you know as soon as those are live. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the time where we hear from you. As you know, we always want to make sure that we're giving folks the time and the space to provide input on various items. But today we have some real logistical questions for you all. We know that educators are typically teaching when we hold these community conversations. I don't think a fifth grade teacher will be able to join our community conversation at this moment in time. So we want to make sure that our future informational sessions are as accessible for folks as possible. So in just a few moments, you're going to have to bear with me as I try to get this to work. We're going to launch a poll with 2 key questions. So the first one, and I'm going to try to do this as we talk, um, is what types of informational sessions would be helpful to you? Would you want these sessions to be targeted to specific groups? For example, something along the lines of a November informational session geared towards teachers in the 5th through 12th grade space, with the January informational session focused on higher education? Or should all informational sessions be available generally to all types of Pathfinders? Gonna give folks a couple more seconds to participate. Um, Again, just thinking about what would make most sense. We will not be recording these sessions importantly. So while the notes will be live, this will be a couple of chances for folks to have that real time engagement with the office. And so just thinking about how we target and tailor that information will be really, really important. Okay, this has been up for maybe a minute, so I'm gonna end the poll here now. I'm giving us a second because you'll see soon that we're kind of split, but it looks like 56% of you, so just a little bit over half, would think tailored information would be helpful, while just less than half of you think generally speaking. So maybe we'll have a couple of bites of that apple. Maybe we'll start one with 5th through 6th or 5th through 12th, and maybe like the second one will be general. We'll think about that. So you can see that now. Apologies, I didn't hit share results, but that's what we're seeing here. So thank you for that feedback. We're gonna start thinking about how we can tailor these informational sessions, so that is incredibly helpful. And then the second question, what times would work best for folks? Right now we have our community conversations in the middle of the day, but is a midday session, so something along the lines of 12 to 3 helpful? Is a early afternoon session more helpful, 3 to 5, or would evening sessions make more sense for folks after they are done with teaching for the day? So we've got quite a few folks answering this one. So thank you for that. We really appreciate it. I'm going to give us 1 whole minute to answer those questions just so that we can give folks a little bit of time to think. I'll stop talking while you guys can take this poll. All right. Last chance for any final thoughts here. I'm going to end this poll. And it looks like most people think that the 12 to 3 o'clock window works best, rounding out by 3 to 5. So we will work on that information. So thank you for that. We really, again, want to use your expertise in this space to really make sure that we're targeting folks as best as possible. So thank you. Thank you again for that. Okay. Next slide, please. So we've come to the end of our session where we tell you things. We talk to you a lot about the lesson plan today, the rubric, the scoring, all of the things, how to submit the plan, what you'll win. But do you have any additional questions for us? I'm not seeing any in the Q&A, but if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat. And looking at the chat, it says Jennifer Cook said I missed the time question. 8:30 works for PUSD EL coordinators as they all have a common prep for 8:30 to 9:30. Ooh, that's an early AM session. And I assume PUSD is Poway, Jennifer, so thank you for that. Any other questions today? And a reminder again that we will be making this resource available to folks over time. And so today, if we look at any of our general work for or our task force sessions, we have just a running resource document where we update through each session with any questions, salient information that maybe is not surfaced today, but will be information that would be helpful to folks along the way. So we will make sure that that is updated. And then Jennifer says, yes, no, it was just for you guys. Oh, apologies. Oh, that was just for me and panelists. I wasn't supposed to share that information. Sorry, Jennifer. I have a hard time differentiating in the chat, but I'm excited. I'm glad that you're excited. Maybe, you know, the Poway folks, we can think about something for them as well. So thank you for that. Any other questions? Ideas that we can help you all out with today. And again, we have some time. You can always email us at info@ctc. We'll drop that or we'll share that information in just a few moments. We're always available if you have any stray thoughts that may not have surfaced today, but I'm just going to give us another moment before we move on. Okay. Next slide, please. So thank you for joining us. Again, it has been amazing to talk to you today about this lesson plan. We've been talking about this for a while now. We really want to make sure that we can make the data available to the people, and educators are a key community. And we're really, really looking forward to seeing how teachers in training, higher education experts really are engaging with this work. So we're really excited about that. And we encourage you to reach out to us at any point in the coming months if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, and join our informational sessions and all of the things. But always info@c2c.ca.gov is an easy way to reach real people in real time. So we will follow up with you if you have any thoughts. Again, a recording of today's community conversation will be available on the C2C site under ways to get involved, community conversations. And lastly, we would be grateful if you can use the QR code on the screen to take our quick language access survey. We want these meetings to be accessible to all Californians, and your feedback will really make sure that we are doing that. You heard from Leticia today. Thank you, Leticia, for providing live Spanish interpretation. We have live Spanish interpretation for all of our public meetings, and we also invite ASL interpreters to our governing board meetings. But we want to make sure that we are reaching everybody and that we're expanding our scope, and that survey will help us do this work. So thank you if you've already taken the survey. And if not, please, we really would like for you to do so. Let us know what languages you speak at home or the languages of the communities that you work with speak so that we can make sure that we are providing access to that information. And with that, we thank you for spending your Wednesday afternoon with us, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Roxana. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jennifer. Have a good day.